I think we're so far away, Sir Michael, because we want a long lens look, so sorry about that.
Why do you want a long lens look?
Because it's very flattering. Lovely background.
Thank you. So therefore, I was very comfortable from the beginning, the very beginning, with the car. Gillian was wonderful, my sidekick in the studio. Everybody seemed to me to get hold of the idea and understand what it was about. And it was a very, very happy shoot. I mean, I've not done that before or since. But if every shoot's as good as I've been in the wrong job for 50 years, I really have. It was great. In rehearsal, I remember that when we were rehearsing it, that I'd actually unable to trust myself totally. I'd had the script on autocue, so I was surrounded by this, a bit like apparently Orson Welles used to do this, so that gave me great gratification. Like a piece of paper stuck all over the place with names and with script on it. So I found that kind of, in a sense, I dropped it after a while, I think, because I found it quite restricting. And the more I did it, the more I actually relaxed into the role. I tell you what was very interesting was, as the story built, I wasn't quite sure how it was going to end up. I think it was kept from me. I think the ending was a surprise, and the mechanics of the ending. And I remember thinking, as I was left alone in the studio for the first time in my life, that this place where I'd worked all my life was not a fun place anymore. It was actually quite frightening. I mean, to sit in a studio that's bare, with no cameramen and just cameras, you're sitting in this huge cavernous space. And when things start creaking and going wrong and lights start appearing, you sit there thinking, oh God, get me out of here, basically.
Yeah, I actually remember that as well. It was fantastically creepy with just the house lights. And
Wasn't it? It really was.
Yeah.
And you didn't tell me at all what was to happen. I just didn't have a clue. And when you superimpose that voice on me at the end as well, that was extraordinary. I mean, that was remarkable. So that was genuinely frightening. I mean, I was actually discomforted. I really was. That was the idea, I guess. I think the only way to do it was to do that, was to treat it as seriously as possible, I mean, we should say very seriously, as a program that was going out. And you had to, too, at the same time. I mean, the premise of the program, I was quite cynical about it. We all were, you know, I started, it's a joke, you frighten a few people and have a laugh. And then when it started turning, that was very interesting, too, to sort of see, or to try and gauge your own reaction to that. So from that point of view, it was fascinating. I just think that the entire premise was cleverly thought through and beautifully written, if I may say so, and believable. I mean, you know, you convinced the nation. I can't remember. What was it?
I can't remember. You're the cricket.
Oh, well, I know I am, but that would be. I mean, I'd probably make a big display of wanting to know the cricket scores at the time. It would have had to be in a test match. And he went, when was it shot? July?
Yeah, and it must have been.
Yeah, it would be a test match. And would it be? Would it have been Australia? Would it have been?
All I know is that the soundman ran up and hid something in your ear, and you're as happy as Larry.
I can't remember that, but that's like me. I wouldn't deny that at all. Yeah. I mean, I thought the public divided very much as I imagined it would in those days. I said in those days, you have to remember that the kind of show we were doing, that docudrama approach, it was not common. And so a lot of people were baffled, were absolutely convinced, some of them, that what they'd seen was absolutely real, even though it was built a play, even though all that, you know. And I found that interesting. Most of my friends, of course, took it for what it was, as a piece of drama, and a very good piece indeed. So the reaction was very much as I imagined it. What I couldn't understand, and can't to this day, was the BBC's reaction. I don't think anybody, I don't know, probably the producer and the director, and probably Stephen would know better than me. But did anybody at the BBC actually ring them up after the show and say that was a bloody marvellous show?
Certainly not from my point of view, as the director.
I would very much doubt it. And because it wasn't available except on a kind of black market, it grew and grew and grew. The mythology of it, I'm approached all the time by people who say, like, Ghostwatch, what happened, and all that sort of thing. It's to this day. And again, particularly the young people who were not around at the time to see it, because they've been told about it. So the mythology of Ghostwatch has been quite remarkable. And it has been influential. You can tell that by the kind of programs that you've seen since that have dealt with the same kind of subject. That's what we did a long time ago. And I think maybe better. But it's there. The influence is great. So therefore, from that point of view, it has an important place in the history of television. Maybe because of the BBC's misbegotten attitude toward it. I don't know, as much as anything else. I think really because it was a remarkable piece of drama. Oh dear, do you know, I can't think of anything anybody's ever said on my show. About anything. Apart from, I remember once interviewing, germane to this subject, Alfred Hitchcock, and I put it to him that we're talking about frightening people, and I said to him, a man who was a serial killer in New York, after seeing one of your films, said that when he committed his fifth murder, he did so because he'd seen one of your movies before, and Hitchcock said, "What did you do before the other four? Have a glass of milk and a plate of biscuits." And I thought that put the entire thing into perspective. No, oh no, not at all. Absolutely not at all, no. And the fact was, of course, that I think that who would I have interviewed on the show that I hadn't already done? I think that nobody apart from Gillian. And I'd have very little reason to actually have one of the co-stars on the show. And then nobody else that came on, it was never there. I mean, it took a while, didn't it? It took a while to sink in. I mean, what was this done? 1992? Yeah. Well, I mean, I was spending most of my time in Australia in those days, and I wasn't on TV. I mean, I came back to BBC in about 96 or so, and so I suppose in the intervening years it had started accruing the kind of mythology that it's got now. I have to say, it didn't have a remarkable effect on my career. I mean, I was not swamped by offers from the Old Vic or anything like that, which greatly disappointed me, I have to tell you, because I saw me sing out the rest of my life wearing makeup, being a thespian. I'm being even more calm than I'm being now. What was very strange was that when I finished writing my autobiography, I was convinced I'd written about this period of my life. And so knowing that I was going to talk to you, I thought I'll just refresh my memory in the book. And it's not there. It's been taken out. I know I wrote it. Now, so I can't think why I didn't actually write that about it at that time. I just can't. It's a mystery, actually. Why would I not write about that? You know, very strange. There you are.
Conspiracy theories start. Conspiracy theory will start.
It's where Ghostwatch 2 starts.
In your next book.
I never watched it back. Well, I couldn't watch it. Well, I don't think we recorded it. I didn't see it until I got the CD sent, and I looked at it. I really, it's not affectation. I just don't like watching myself. I'm totally unable to judge, whether it worked or not. But given the reaction of the general populace, it did work. We convinced a lot of people, so that'll be a sufficient proof. But it was interesting just to watch the way it was shaped and constructed and how cleverly done it was. And it was convincing, you have to say that. I mean, I knew it wasn't for real, but to sit there and watch it and think, I can see why some people might have thought this is happening now. Yeah. I had one weird experience as a child where I came downstairs hearing the piano that I was learning piano on in our front room, which had very worn ivory keys, I remember. And I remember getting halfway down the stairs and looking into the room, and I could see these keys going, and there was nobody there. That was a dream, I'm sure about that. But that was the nearest I ever came to any kind of paranormal experience. And I tend to be deeply cynical about all of it. Other people are not, of course, and I think they have a better time than I do. Well, you missed out my big film, of course, my big film with Bill Nighy in Love Actually. I mean, that's the pinnacle of my career, but after that, nothing happened. So, no, I did, I think it was the first film I ever did was actually with, first bit of acting I ever did was with Vincent Price, down at Shepperton, making a film called Madhouse, where he plays the man who, I think I'm right in saying, spontaneously combusts as I'm interviewing him. Well, it wasn't as frightening as the emu, that's for sure, but it was a nice chance to meet Vincent Price, one of the nicest men I've ever met in my life. And indeed, all my acting career, apart from Ghostwatch, has been some kind of forgettable, because the opposite, forgettable time. The first time I ever trod the boards, I was 9 at my junior school, and I played the King of Hearts in a play called The King and Queen of Hearts, opposite the girl I was convinced I was going to marry and live long into the future. And we lost a line as we were looking at each other, and I blurted out to a packed house, "Well, I don't know about you, but I'm taking my tart off to bed." At which point the audience collapsed in a heap and the curtain came down, and I had to be told why, because I got no idea I was so innocent. So, I mean, from that base, I think I've done rather well, actually. I think The Shining by Kubrick is maybe one of the most frightening movies I've ever seen. And the shot, that extraordinary shot of it, the fanny shot of the children going down the corridor, the kid on the thing, and then he meets these two kids, these blonde hair looking at him with the eyes. I mean, terrifying. And why it terrifies, I just don't know. But I mean, it does. It's awful. And a wonderful, wonderful piece of filmmaking. I was very much taken by a film called The Hand, which I think starred Peter Lorre, and it involved a hand which has been severed, which used to walk upstairs like that. And I remember as a child being terrified by this thing, convinced it was coming up my stairs and going to grab me around the throat. What else? I think those are the two outstanding ones off the top of my head. I'm sure there have been others that have been equally frightening, but those were the two. Kubrick by a long way, by The Shining by a long, long way. Yeah. Terrifying movie. Here's Johnny.
They've never done a British remake. Here's Parky.
That'd be something, wouldn't it? Yeah. I think it's a very important document in the sense in the history of television. I think it's that moment in time when as I said, when that kind of docudrama made a name for itself in a sense. And if you look nowadays at what it spawned, we can't be proud of all it spawned, but but the freedom it gave to the drama, I think was extraordinary, and it was very well done. I mean, as I said, I can speak of this quite objectively because I came to it again after 20 years just about, and it's a very good piece of work. I mean, it stands up, you know, it's beautifully done. So I think it's got its own place there, and its own place created by the BBC. The one thing that's not changed in all that time is BBC bureaucracy. I guess if it happened again today, the response would be exactly the same. Exactly the same. Disown it, to get rid of it, we want no part of it. But to be fair, I mean, when all is said and done, it was the Bee that put it on.
Great.
Right, excellent. Okay, that's fantastic. Really good.
I think that's the cut.
Fantastic. Wonderful.
Instead of being proud of a drama, which had, I think still holds a record today, doesn't it, for viewing figures, what, 11 million or something like that. I mean, it's an extraordinary figure, even in those days. I mean, today they'd die for it, wouldn't they? They repeat it over the week. So it just seemed to me that people were not being properly recompensed for their talents, for what they'd done, which was, in my view, remarkable.